Hi, I'm Eric Summerer, and here's what's coming from the Dice Tower this week.
All right, folks, welcome to the last Dice Tower Network news show for April 29th, 2013. There is a ton of stuff to get into, so let's get into it. First, I want to talk specifically a little bit about the Dice Tower. A couple things of note. First of all, the Dice Tower convention. I've been talking about this a lot. There really is only a little over 80 spots left, but even more importantly, at the end of this week, that will be pretty much the last time you can get the hotel rooms for the discounted price. That's a really big deal. And I know a lot of you have been on the fence about this and saying, well, we'll put it off. Don't put it off. I hate turning people away. I'd love to make this 1,000, 2,000, but we have what we have with 600. We're going to have 600 people this year. Will you be one of them? Sign up at DicetowerCon.com. Secondly, our show has been sponsored, and many of our shows, especially our audio podcasts, have been sponsored by FunAgainGames.com. And we have really appreciated Fun Again over the years. They are a great gaming store. They have treated us fantastically. They have a huge selection. One of the cool things they do is each year they go to the Spiel Essen fair in Germany and bring back games before the other game stores do. They are a fantastic place, and we really thank them for the years that we've been able to work with them. However, starting Wednesday, May 1st, and continuing thus we're onward, we are changing to we now have a sponsorship and agreement with Cool Stuff Inc. The main reason for the switch is not because Fun Again's a bad place. They aren't. They're great. But because I'm here in Florida and Cool Stuff is in my backyard, so to speak, in Orlando, in Hollywood. They have several local gaming stores. They are also a fantastic gaming store. They have the cheapest prices on the internet. It's amazing the selection they have. So please check them out. And please, if you do get something from, maybe say, hey, we heard about you guys on the Dice Tower. All right, well, there is a lot of news and things, like I said. Let's get to it. Well, the board gaming news itself, there's not tons of it yet, but it's crescendoing. We're getting close there. If you are a game publisher and you happen to be watching this and you have a game releasing at Gen Con, let me know about it. Send it to me. I'm going to try to put together a video, guys, in the next couple weeks about what's coming up at Gen Con. But the next convention on the schedule is Origins, and we will be at Origins. The Dice Tower will be there, me and Eric and maybe a few other folks, in conjunction with Origins. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing videos of games that they either have released or will be releasing. And we'll have that posted as shortly as possible after Origins, so you can see the games that were released at Origins, or thus. If you're going to be at Origins in Columbus, Ohio, this coming June, let us know. We're going to have a Dice Tower dinner there. Hopefully you can get involved with that. If anything, at least come by and say hello. Then, and also in the news, our Kickstarter stuff has all shipped. If you kickstarted the Dice Tower, we really appreciate it. All the local stuff and international stuff has been shipped. If you live in the United States of America, you should have your stuff by now. You might not, but you probably do. If you have your stuff and there's any problems, and I hope there's not, because there's been a lot of problems already, and I apologize. It's amazing the amount of work that goes into it. But if there are problems, email me now. Please don't wait a couple weeks. What we're trying to do is we're trying to fix as many things as we can. We've already run out of some of the promos, and I don't want to run out of too much of the stuff. So let me know if there's any problems. On our website, probably starting tomorrow, we're going to have, if you want to buy some of the extra promos, we have a lot of extra Mage Wars promos and Pixel Tactic promos and a couple other Robinson Crusoe promos that we will have on our website. And we'll add more as time goes by, but we want to make sure we fulfill the Kickstarter stuff first. If you're international, your stuff is on the way. Of course, that takes as long as, well, your country's goes. So there's that. All right, in the board gaming world itself, Hero Brigade is an interesting Kickstarter. I did a preview of it last week where you use cards for different things. That's up there now. Steve Jackson published their stockholder report last week, which I found really interesting. For one thing, they made $7 million, which is more than most board game companies make. And 75% of that was due to Munchkin and its related games. They also sold quite a bit of, I think, Zombie Dice. They said their dice games are doing well. They also talked a bit about Ogre. Oh, wow! You should see how much stuff is coming in that box of Ogre. I've never played it, but I am interested just to see the immense amount of things in the box. Plat Hat Games published a rulebook for BioShock Infinite, the board game. So if you're interested in that, that's a very popular video game right now, and the board game with really nice miniatures could be a hit. Plat Hat has done well with their games thus far. News of the week is from Stronghold Games. They've announced Space Cadet Dice Duel. Now, I happen to have Space Cadets here, which they published last year, which is a fantastic cooperative game designed by the Engelstein family. And Space Cadets is, in that game, you each have a different part of a spaceship. One person's at the helm, one person's the captain, one person's weapons. Well, this game is somewhat similar, except this is a team game. One team against another team, and you're rolling dice. And as you roll different dice, you can get power dice that will unlock other dice that you can roll. It's kind of like a Speed, Fast, and Furious. I've read through the rules. Looks very entertaining. We'll be talking about it on the Dice Tower tomorrow. Eric Summer has had a chance to take a look at it. Very big game, I think, coming out, and of course, probably close to Gen Con, designed by Jeff and Sydney Engelstein. That's Space Cadets Dice Duel. Reviews this week, we'll be taking a look at the older racing game, fun racing game, Ave Caesar. 3 games in one, these card games that come in this box. Croak, the new expansion for Conquest of the Planet Earth, Apocalypse, the expansion for Smash Up, the awesome level 9000, expansion for Descent, Lair of the Worm, expansion for Cutthroat Caverns, Fresh Meat, expansion for Super Dungeon Explorer, Von Drack Manor, expansion for Quarriors, Quartifacts. And not an expansion, but we've heard a lot about Pixel Lincoln. Is it worth playing? Lots of great games. You might see a couple other reviews. You'll definitely see a few more previews this week, but I'm very excited about many of these. Lots of podcasts in the Dice Tower Network, but before we get into those, we want to welcome 3 new podcasts that you should check out. First of all, it's the Party Game Cast, folks. You may have heard them on our show, the Dice Tower. They talk about party games, a category I think many people do not know enough about or talk about enough, especially in the board gaming world, the Party Game Cast. Then we have Snakes Cast. These guys also contributors to the Dice Tower. From Snakes and Latte Cafe up in Canada, where they run a cafe that has board games. It's really interesting what's behind the scenes there. Checked it out on the Snake Cast. And then Exploring Games with Chris Norwood has been writing reviews and things about board games for a long time, and now he has a podcast in which he'll take a look at, like for example this week, taking a closer look at some board game mechanisms. So that's Exploring Games. With our podcast that we already have, Little Metal Dog number 57 interviews Patrick from Crash Games, talking about his game that's currently up on Kickstarter. On Board Games 106, they talk about how board games have been increasing in quality. Special guest Ray Greenlee. Plat Hat number 89, they talk about if they could have any game re-released, what would it be? And also a little bit about their experiences at PAX East. Not just another board gaming podcast, number 28. They take a look at some games like Room 25, a game you guys should check out, and Chicken Caesar. Shut Up and Sit Down has released a video review of A String Railway. Flip the Table number 27 reviews a game, Mall Madness. You probably have heard of this game or have seen it at a garage sale. Is it worth it? Well, probably not, but watch the review anyway, or listen to it. Rolling Dice and Taking Names has come out with a new episode in which they talk about filler games and casual games. And then the Dice Tower, our show, will be released tomorrow. We talk about, do you keep expansion boxes? Well, obviously, I do, but do we keep empty ones? Or how does that work? Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. This week I wanted to talk about something that gets a lot of people upset, and that is how we treat board games. This is my board game. I just dropped it on the floor, which is probably freaking a couple people out there. And let me say this, guys, it shouldn't be. If you watch any of my reviews, you'll know that I dumped the components all over the table. I first did it kind of as a joke, and as time has progressed, it's a good way to see all the components. It is interesting, and it's kind of like just a distinctive feature of my reviews. But I get emails from people, sometimes really upset emails about it, or people saying, oh, that physically hurt me when you did that and such. And let me get this out of the way. I think as much as possible, you should take care of the stuff you have. You should take care of your reviews, of your games. You should take care of the things that you own. But at the same time, what is most important in your life? Now, I happen to have 6 children. This here is my youngest daughter out of 6 daughters. What's your name, ma'am?
Ruby.
Ruby, right. Now, Ruby is 4 years old. Now, let's say I'm walking with Ruby and this very fantastic Star Wars card game. And I'm walking and I trip a little bit. Now, what am I going to do? It's a no-brainer, folks. You drop the game, grab the kid. Because she is way more important than any board game. Right? Board games are fun. They're important, and I like them. They're a great part of my collection. But folks, honestly, they're just stuff. I don't want to have a board game collection here that my kids can never touch. I don't want to have a board game collection so that when people come into my room, I have to say, I'm sorry, no drinks, no snacks, and please be careful with the cards. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily want someone to have Cheetos and salsa and ranch dressing dripping all over and putting my cards in their mouth, okay? There's obviously limits, and we want to take care of stuff. But these are just games. They're just things. People, my kids, other people, my friends, they are so much more important than the games. So when I drop components all over the floor, when I throw the games around, I do that with kind of a wink and a nod at the camera, see what we've done. And I carefully pick them up, put them in bags, and try to take care of them. But at the end of the day, the fun that the game gives me is more important than you coming to my house and saying, oh, a pristine. People say, look at that, your Cosmic Encounter box is all beat up. Yeah, because we play it so often. It's a great game and it's fun. And I'd rather have a well-worn, beaten-up version of Cosmic Encounter than a pristine version that we barely play and that we have to use tweezers and we can't touch it until all the cards have been sleeved and such. So, you may be different. You may want that pristine collection. But I'm just saying, from my point of view, games are all about fun and about the people who play them. Treating this like a museum doesn't help the people out. We're here just to have a lot of fun. About it for this week, folks. Don't forget, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we put out a small audio podcast by Remy Gibson, Dice Tower News, 5 to 10 minutes long. Subscribe to that. You can find it on our website. Do not miss it. He does a great job at keeping you updated on the news. You can also find an audio transcript of this video and some of my other reviews at dicetoweraudio.com. So many things for you guys to look and see, but don't forget, always be playing games, not just listening about them. This is Tom Vasel, signing off.
Find all this and more at dicetower.com. See you soon. Shut the door.